Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. In this video, we are going to explore Claude Code version 3.7. As you know, today this artificial intelligence has shown that in terms of development, it far surpasses DeepSeek, it surpasses OpenAI, and it is the best, let's say, artificial intelligence in coding and programming. So, for this reason, we are simply going to try to create an application. In this application, we will add our resume, post a job offer, and it should be able to rework my resume to make it more optimized for that job offer. We are going to do all of this with the Cline application. I will show you how to install it, how to deploy it, and how to launch this machine so that it simply develops my code and so that I will have an application ready to be deployed in just a few steps. We will also show you how to connect with what we simply call the Firebase database. Thank you very much and see you in a moment. So before continuing the video on YouTube, I wanted to introduce myself for those who don't know me. I am Dr. Firas. I hold a doctorate in artificial intelligence and today I am a popular instructor on the Udemy platform. On Udemy, I create courses in several categories. There are those in artificial intelligence and others in digital marketing. And today I am proud to be a popular instructor on that platform. You will find that I have approximately more than 50,000 people who have purchased my courses, including 6,784 positive reviews. Most of the courses have the bestseller badge. Today, to thank my subscribers on YouTube, I have gathered all these courses in a single link where you can access all these courses. I will also leave you the link to these courses with a special code for my YouTube community. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I invite you to subscribe to my channel. I publish almost daily, in fact, free tutorials on YouTube about artificial intelligence and digital marketing. So I thank you very much and wish you a good learning experience. Very well, so now we will try to talk a little about Claude Code. So this is the part where Claude Code will try to help us create a code or simply fix an existing code. We simply find a whole documentation there that explains how to work, how to leverage this code power. So it's a very, very long documentation. There is a lot of information and details on installation and code manipulation. So generally, there is the possibility to do it with a classic and simple terminal to be able to interact with Claude simply by installing this intelligence on a simple terminal. We can simply access a folder and launch Claude to start asking it to create a code. But in reality, it will be much more interesting to use what we call an AI agent or a code editor agent, and that's why we will try to use Cline. Cline is simply a coding agent. We will just give it access to the Claude API and then it will develop for us using the power of Claude. That's how it will work. We will try to see the installation of Cline and the operation of Claude as the best artificial intelligence. Don't forget, with the tests that have been done recently, we find that Claude is much more powerful than DeepSeek, more powerful than O3 Mini, the same as O1, and even when compared to the latest version of 3.5, it is the top. So Claude 3.7 Sonnet is the strongest in coding and programming. Let's first take a quick look at the official Claude website, where it will show us the use of this API of this Claude power. You will see that it has given us the ability to connect via API with several types of intelligence. There is one that is a bit light and fast, and there is one that is very, very strong in managing and creating analyses for tasks and complex tasks. But for us, we are much more interested in this one, the Sonnet, which is very strong in coding and programming. So in terms of cost, it's more manageable. And so that's what interests us, the coding part and the programming part. If we also look at the price, it's very important to know how much the Claude API will cost. So the Claude API, here of course we are going to use this version 3.7 Sonnet. For everything that is input, it costs $3 per $1 million tokens. And for everything that is output, it's $15 per 1 million tokens. It's, let's say, a bit more expensive than OpenAI. So if I look at OpenAI, we can compare it with this one. In fact, O3 Mini because this one is also very strong in coding. It's much better than OAN in terms of coding. So here the prices are 1.1 per million tokens for input and 4.4 per million tokens for output. So while we understand that there is a price difference, we can say that here for input it's almost 3 times, and the same here for output. We have 15 and we have 4, so we can say it's 3 times more expensive. But the power, you will see that Claude 3.5 is much stronger in terms of coding and quality. And honestly, if you do a project with the O3 API, it will cost you just as much, because there will be a lot of error fixes that you will request. So you will consume a lot of the API. Unlike here, the API is a bit expensive, but the quality of the results is better. So in a way, the price is justified. So in order to simply set up these installations and start launching, we first need something called the API. So we need to create our API key and of course purchase some credits. So let's try to look at this in detail. Very well. So what we're going to do first is simply go to this site, console.entropic.com, and here you'll see in the settings section, I can simply go to billing and click to purchase credits. So when you see the credits, when I enter my credit card and click here, I can choose between $5 and $100. Of course, as you work, you can increase the limit beyond $100. But initially, I can, for example, enter and add $5 and click on buy credits. The result is that I will have credits here, which will then allow me to click on Happy Keys Power. And I will have the option to create my Happy Key. So I will click here. And of course, it will ask me to give a name to my key. I will simply call it Cline, since we're going to use the Cline tool. So here I will name it Cline, click on add, and you will see that I now have my key. This is a key, of course, that you should not display or share. It's a secret key, because if someone uses it, they will consume your credit or so I will create it just for this training, for this video, and then we will destroy it. So there's no point in copying it. So I will copy it, finish this, and now I simply have my key that has been created correctly. Very well, once our API has been created, we are ready to use it. Quite simply, we will need our Visual Studio Code. So here, the website is code.visualstudio.com. I enter here. In fact, this is a code editor, quite simply, where I can open files, I can open sessions. I can actually install extensions here, so it's thanks to this tool that I can actually install the Cline extension inside. Quite simply, it's an interface, if you will, that will help me actually install libraries and execute certain codes. So to download it, it's simple, it's free. You just have to click here on download. You will choose your operating system. Personally, I work with Mac, so I can install Mac. But even within Mac, you can select your chipset. Is it an Apple Silicon or a Tel chip to have maximum compatibility with your system? You also have those who work with the Linux version and, of course, with Windows. So once you have completed the installation, you just need to click download and then click next for the installation. We simply need to launch it. Here is our Visual Studio Code that is installed. To install the client, I have already installed it, but to install it for the first time, you will click here in what we call the store, and there you will simply type client like this. And you will simply find the Cline tool. Cline, I remind you, is the client site. There is the possibility to install it from the site, but it will be much simpler to go directly from your visual and install it. When you click for the first time, you will see that you need to make sure you have the very latest version, because there are always versions being updated. There, it has just updated automatically, as you can see. And so, as a result, you will have a button called install if it's the first time. If it's already done, you will simply click on auto update for it to update automatically. And that's very, very interesting. So this allows you to have the very latest version of the client, and once it's installed, you will simply click on Start Extension for this extension to restart and for your system to be ready to launch. So what do I have here? I've installed Visual, I've installed the client, and so when I click here on the left on client, I have my out tool which is installed. So I granted permission, and what am I going to do? I'm going to set up the connection with Claude 3.7 directly here with its API. To do this, you'll see down here, there's the option to select your coding model. I click here and I will, for example, I work with OpenAI. Now we will switch together to another tool which will be Claude. So I select here. You will find Anthropic there. So I click and you will see that I need to enter my key. Remember that we created a key together. So I will copy and paste my key. So this is a test key that we created together. So I will paste it here. And it gets pasted in an encrypted manner, which is very interesting, so it will not appear in your code. And here you will see that there are several models. I will take the very latest model, which is 3.7, so that I can simply use the full power of Claude. So as you can see, here I simply have the Claude model installed with client on the Visual site, and as a result I can code, I can program without any issues thanks to this artificial intelligence. Very well, so now we are going to do an exercise where I will actually try to create an application with Cline using of course the Claude 3.7 app. So what's the idea? It's that I simply want an application. It's a SaaS where I will input my resume in PDF format. This application will read it, and I will also add as input a job offer description. What's the objective? It's that this artificial intelligence will read the resume, read the job offer description, and create a new resume more suited to that job offer, while of course staying focused on the resume I sent, so my original resume. Then I can download this resume. So I'm going to try to create a new folder here. So now we're going to create a new folder on the desktop. So we're going to call it PDF. There, that's the new folder. And I'm simply going to copy paste my prompt. So I created a detailed prompt. There you go, so that I can run it here on Cline. So here I come, I put my prompt. This is the detailed prompt. There you go. I explain to it step by step what I want to do. I tell it here in the prompt that I will also use the Claude API so that it can perform the analysis and generate the new PDF or new CV. So now I launch it. Of course, it will take a few moments to reason and understand this project so that it can then simply proceed with programming and coding. Brilliantly, it takes between 3 to 4 minutes for it to complete the reasoning and finish the initial coding. You will see here, it tries to get my confirmation, to execute some command lines like here for PDF processing. So now it is simultaneously installing libraries so that it can really get into the code and develop. And that's what's really impressive with Claude. It takes its time for reasoning, to understand the entire projects, to set up the resources, the libraries it will use, and then it's off, it will start programming. So now it will develop, it will program, we'll get the new files, and we will let it run, and I will get back to you as soon as it finishes, or if it displays an error message, to see how we can respond to these messages. Alright, very well. It tells me that the application is ready, that I simply have to click here to see the execution. Of course, if you noticed here, it has created several files at the index level, the CSS, the JavaScript. It even created for me, which is very interesting. I like that. The README. So here it's like a little support that explains to me the details of the application. I really like that. In fact, here's the architecture. So as a result, the reasoning mode, the documentation has been done here, and that's very, very interesting. So I find that thanks to the prompt, in fact, it managed to create a clear, simple project. And now we're going to click on run to execute it. So we will simply need to see the execution now, as you can see there. So it will run it on a local machine. We will see the result here still in execution mode. We are waiting for the server to open to see the application in reality. So here I see the execution of this project. It's a simple thing. Here I can upload my PDF, I can add the description, and here I can ask it to do the optimization for me. I will just take a test resume that I downloaded from the internet, a simple resume. So I will click here to upload. We will see if it manages to upload or not. So here I see that the upload is working correctly. So here I already see that it has detected the file. We will go here on the internet to actually search for a job offer in accounting. We will just copy a job offer just to test. We will take this offer here, so we will copy it and try to paste it here. And all that's left to do is click on optimize my resume to see if it is capable of optimizing it using artificial intelligence. So actually it gives me a message saying file to process resume. So what I will do is simply take a screenshot or just copy the error message, which is this one, and we will return to our interface and I will tell it to fix this error. And here I will simply put this error message as you can see here. So I have put the information. I can also add a screenshot. It will be very interesting to add a screenshot here. So I will click here to actually add the image of my screenshot that I just took. And I will simply ask it to fix this error and we will see. So it actually has the ability to reason, to understand the error, where it comes from, to understand exactly what it needs to fix, and then it will propose solutions. So we will let it update the code. As you can see, it is updating the code. We will wait for it to finish this to re-execute and retest the execution of this program to see if it managed to fix it or not. So now it has finished fixing the error, and now I can simply view my application. We will test it. So here I actually left the PDF and the job description, and I'm going to click, and you will see that I have an error message. It tells me that it cannot use the Claude API, and that's completely normal because I need to provide it with the API. This is a good sign because it means that it has actually moved on to reading the PDF and the description, and when it tries to request the AI for analysis, it cannot establish a connection with the other. So it's simple. I will go back here and simply paste my API that we created on the Claude platform. It's a test API for training. I will put it here. You just need to press enter and you will see I don't need to follow those steps to create or update the file of the API. I will let it do it by itself. Why? Because if it works, you will see that it will create the necessary file. As you can see here, it will do that for me, and thus my system can be ready. Now we simply need to test to see if the API responds correctly to its request and if the error has been fixed or not. Well, now that it's finished, what am I going to do? I will go back to my page. I need to refresh the page. It's very important. Re-upload the PDF. We will actually copy our job description a second time, and now we will see what message it will display, or if it will succeed in creating the PDF or the new resume for me. So here I refresh, and now it tells me that there is actually a problem when it works with the Claude app. The same thing, so here I will simply do a print icon. We will copy this message, and then I go back to my code. The same thing, I paste it. So for me, I leave Cerebron, and that's the way I develop because it's a real way. When you have a developer, it's the same thing. They have an error message, they will try to find it. So with AI, it's the same thing, but the power of AI is it actually capable of detecting its problem and solving it in a very, very short amount of time. So as soon as it finishes, I quickly try to redo the test a second time to see if it succeeded or not. So then it's finished, so I have to go back to the application and simply test a second time to be sure if the problem has been definitively resolved or not. So how to do it? I will come back here. We will refresh my actions, so I need to actually add my PDF here, And there we go. I simply add the description here. So we will rather paste the job description, which is this one. And then we will click here to start the optimization of my project. So now it is loading. That's a good sign. Already it took a bit more time. So it's not like earlier where it sent the message directly. So now it shows me that it is working. We will see the result. If it is able to launch the PDF or the final version, if I can download it, if I can see it, read it, and that is very, very important. That's already a good first sign. It gave me a green message saying, listen, the resume is ready. It gives me the option to download it. So now we'll see if the download works correctly or not. So I click and voila, a new file opens and it's great. So now I have a resume that is optimized for the job offer I provided. It's true that the design here isn't very, very nice, but in terms of content, we can see that it did everything necessary to make it suitable. Of course, this information is the same as in the resume, so we just prepared something simple and open source so as not to use a real resume just for the test. But obviously for your application you absolutely need to test with a real resume to know if I can download it or not. So now of course I can look at it, download it, print it as a PDF, and I can further improve this work if I want to go back to the application and ask it to work a bit on the design to have a more advanced or nicer design. Alright, here we go. So here we will simply put the new prompt that will work on the design. So I will ask it to create a modern design that is beautiful and professional, to have a high quality CV to download. I launch this prompt and of course it will try to understand the mechanism and the objective of this PDF that I want to download. Subsequently, it will start creating new files and connecting with new libraries to improve the design for my PDF. I will let the deployment of this code happen and then we will test it together. And there you go, it has executed. I can see here that it has previewed the application here, but it has just finished creating the design. So we asked for a simple and modern design, and now we will upload the file just to test together what it will look like. We will give it time to load. So now it is analyzing the PDF, the text, and we are waiting here for the launch of our final design to see if the quality has been improved or not. And there we go, we will click to actually download the PDF. Indeed, I can clearly see the intervention at the design level in terms of adding colors and titles, and there you go. Of course, I can ask it to do a bit more on the design side, but so far this is already a very interesting and important part. I can even provide it with screenshots of CV templates as attachments and ask it to format the CV in that way. That's possible too. There is also the possibility of connecting to a database with our application. Here I can choose, for example, Google's Firebase model. So I can create a free database where I can connect it. I can even create user accounts so that users can simply log in with my application, create their accounts, and there you go. They can, for example, create multiple CV templates and use them. And whenever they have a job offer, they can copy it and keep the CV stored. So for that, I will type fail-based. So I enter here just to retrieve the access, and I will give it to the AI so it can do what's necessary to make the connection. So here, I execute to enter this database. So here we can simply create a new project. So here you click to create a project. You give a name to the project, so we will simply call it. So we did it for the CV, or we will simply call it PDF. There you go. So PDF Cline. Here, I can of course join the developer program when I can choose not to join it. I click on continue. And here, if I want to enable the Google Analytics option for tracking my application to see the visitors and information, if I want, I can leave it on. Otherwise, I can disable it and click on create project. So it takes a few seconds and you will see that your project will simply be opened. And I can of course retrieve the codes from Firebase and put them on cloud so they can make the connection and create a database for my application. So very well, it's done. I click on continue. So now I am inside this project. So for that, it actually asks me whether my application is an iOS, Android, or a web application. So in our case, it's a web application. I give a name to this application. I can even use the same name that we gave to the project. It's not important. I click on save, and you will see that it will give me a code, which thanks to this code, I can obviously simply give to Clyde, and Clyde will do the necessary. So I will just need to copy and paste this code, this part, where I have the information of my Firebase configuration. Thanks to this code, the AI can simply make the connection. I copy this code. I can simply take maybe just this. No need to include the function. I copy this information. There, of course, I click on access to complete this configuration. I go back to my client and I will tell him here, we will simply launch a new prompt. There I will tell him to connect with my database. And there I give it the name Firebase. And then I go to the next line and simply provide the information. It will understand everything. So then once I have given it this information, I launch. So what will happen is that it will do everything necessary to connect my application with the database. We also have the possibility to do what we call authentication in our application. So authentication here simply allows people to connect with an account, create a login, create a password. So when I go into authentication, the authentication part, I can access it here, as I can obviously access it from the create tab. You will see there there is authentication. So it's the same thing. And there I click on start. You will see that it will ask me to select which authentication provider, meaning do I want people to connect with a login and password, or with an SMS they will receive on their phone, or with Gmail, Microsoft, even Facebook connection. So I can choose the provider here. If I activate, for example, the email address, if I click here, you will see that I just need to activate this option. Click on save. I can, of course, add the possibility to connect with other providers by clicking there. So once I choose this option, of course, I just need to click here and activate this option. All that's left to do is to simply go to my artificial intelligence. And there I can tell it to simply create an access to a user account to access the system. And at that moment, when we tell it to create a user account, it will check if I have activated this option automatically in my database. So, in case it's activated, of course, it will create in my interface the space simply to be able to give control here. For example, at the top right or left, I can give it the possibility to add a space here for users to log in before accessing this application.